Hello and welcome to this presentation on studying history at GCSE at St Ambrose College. I invite you all to reflect on the quotation which you can currently see on the screen in front of you. It's a quote which encapsulates all the reasons why history is valuable to study at all levels. Some of you may already know which of our former Prime Ministers is responsible for this quotation. Statecraft refers to not only the process of running the country, but decision making at all levels in our professional lives and our personal lives. This quote, study history, in it lie all the secrets of statecraft, is attributed to our former wartime Prime Minister, Winston Churchill. This presentation will endeavour to answer some of the questions you have about GCSE history. History is exciting, it's interesting, and it's about people making their decisions and living their lives just like you and me. On paper 1, the first option studied is conflict and tension, 1894 to 1914. This covers the causes of the First World War, including the alliance system and the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austrian throne. Key aspects of World War I are also studied, such as the battles of the Somme, Jutland and Passchendaele. We also learn about developments of the war in the air, as this is the first time the plane was used in warfare. We learn about the reasons why the Germans were defeated, including the failure of their final offensive, named after General Ludendorff. On paper 1, you will also be examined on your study of Germany from 1894 to 1945. This unit covers the government of the pre-war German ruler, Kaiser Wilhelm II, an autocratic monarch who many believe were responsible for the outbreak of the First World War. During the period inspired by the ideas of Karl Marx, the ideas of socialism began to spread, which threatened the authority of the Kaiser's rule and the stability of the German government. After the war, the Kaiser was forced to abdicate and a more socialist democratic republic replaced it, the Weimar Republic. This new government had many challenges: the aftermath of war, threats to its authority from the left and right, and in 1923, an attempt to take power which started in a beer hall in Munich, led by a little-known leader of the National Socialist Party, Adolf Hitler. Whilst the government survived and flourished economically in the 1920s, the Wall Street crash meant that they could never survive the rise of the Nazi Party. You will study how Hitler used devious and underhanded methods to gain more votes in the elections, eventually gaining power in 1933. You will learn what life was like in Nazi Germany for workers, for young people like you, and women. You will learn how the Nazis used propaganda and intimidation to ensure the loyalty of the German people. Finally, this course considers how the Second World War impacted the lives of the German people.
On the second paper, you'll be learning about the reign of Elizabeth I and what it was like to live in Elizabethan England. You'll be studying Elizabeth's upbringing and how that prepared her for the challenges that she faced during her reign. The key really is her religion. She was born the daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn and was brought up a Protestant. So when she became the Queen, she had to introduce measures to avoid a civil war with the Catholics. She is also the Queen best known for her defeat of the Spanish Armada, and you'll be looking at the reasons why the Armada failed to land on English shores. Another interesting part of the course is her relationship with Mary, Queen of Scots, who demanded to be named the heir to the English throne. You will be studying the plots against Elizabeth, with Mary, Queen of Scots at their centre, and also the eventual execution of Mary. Some of you are interested in drama and theatre, and you'll be studying the beginnings of the Elizabethan theatre, and of course that most famous of English playwrights, William Shakespeare. Those of you that are interested in art will also be looking at the developments in culture in that period. The final unit in GCSE history is called The Power and the People. I think this is a really interesting and exciting unit as it covers power and how power has been transferred to Parliament, protest against unfair rule and unfair taxes, and change, how groups such as women, workers and minorities have gained more rights in this country. We begin with the Middle Ages and the signing of the Magna Carta, a document which has been described as one of the most influential legal documents in our history and is still a symbol of freedom. We continue with the establishment of the first Parliament in 1265, a symbol of baronial opposition to unjust rule. And we finish the Middle Ages by examining the motives of those who took part in the Peasants' Revolt of 1381. In the early modern period, we study discontent with the religious policies and unjust rule of Tudor and Stuart kings. Discontent which led to the trial of Charles I and his execution and the establishment of a republic under Oliver Cromwell. Similarly, we examine the American War of Independence and how it changed the way that people in England and indeed France thought about royal authority. I think the 19th and 20th century topics are especially interesting to our students, as many of the events took place here in Manchester. In 1819, families from all around Manchester came to hear Henry Hunt speak about electoral reform. The Manchester Yeomanry were sent in to disperse the crowd and left them with 18 dead. As well, the Pankhursts came from Manchester, the Pankhursts who fought for women to get the vote. In the 20th century, we study how workers and minorities struggled to gain equal rights in this country, despite their contribution to our society. Many of the Windrush generation, like the two nurses seen here, have been discriminated against and are still discriminated against today. We look at protest against racial injustices, which led to the riots in Brixton, and how the murder of Stephen Lawrence in 1993 challenged institutional racism in the police. This is a challenging but very interesting topic with focuses on power, protest and people. I'm very often asked, why should I study history? I enjoy it, but I'm not sure where it will lead me. Well, I would always advise you to opt for history at GCSE if you enjoy it. If you enjoy it, you're likely to study harder and you're likely to be better at it and to get higher grades. I would also urge you to study history to understand the present, and it does widen university and career opportunities for you. I think the main thing about history, though, is if you study history, you develop skills which are respected by a wide range of professions. Many of my contemporaries from A-level and degree-level history are now in the law or police. They studied architecture, they're accountants, they've gone into teaching or museum work, and I also know some of my contemporaries from university who have gone on to become football journalists. Students also ask me, will I get a good grade in history GCSE? Well, ask yourself if you enjoy history. If you enjoy it, you are likely to work harder at it. Also, you need to ask yourself if you're prepared to focus in class and to complete your homework to the best of your ability. And if the answers are yes, I'm sure that you will succeed in this subject. Students also ask me, what else does history at GCSE have to offer? Obviously, the opportunities that we have in the department have been limited by the pandemic, but in the past We have run visits to the World War I battlefields in France and Belgium. Despite the pandemic, we have been able to carry on with the History Society, which is led and run by students. We have a wide variety of presentations, including a scene on this slide, the war in Korea, and football and fascism in Mussolini's Italy. If you have any more questions about GCSE history, please do ask your teacher or get in contact with me, and I will endeavour to answer your questions. Thank you for listening.